Thank you for listening to the Old English D podcast. New episodes are live every Tuesday, so make sure to subscribe and follow to keep up to date on all the new episodes. And as we always say, go Tigers.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Old English D, a Detroit Tigers podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Kasey, as always joined by Josh, my friend. This is post-home series. Are you still with us? Are you there? What is the pulse? Are you okay?
This series has been such an emotional roller coaster. A few ups and quite a few downs.
I was gonna say that's a pretty low roller coaster, and in fact, you're at this point you have to be underground. So like, are you digging a hole, or like are you digging yourself out of the hole? Where are we at?
Well, you gotta understand the home runs from Torque are pretty high, especially the second one, especially after how he's been playing.
I can understand how those carried you for a minute. But it was a fleeting minute. Let's be honest.
It almost got me through the game on Tuesday, the first shutout. That almost got me through that. If that explains how high that was.
God, you just said that and it just hit me. Like the first shutout, we got shut out twice by the Miami Marlins. Oh man, yeah. Hey, it's PGA Championship weekend. Can we maybe just, do you want to do a podcast about that? We could do a podcast about that.
I feel like we have
Tigers playing
more competition on that front than we would in the Detroit Tigers land.
Yeah, that's fair. But I mean, something worthy of talking about, maybe.
Yeah, could be.
I mean, come back to me when Tiger, if and maybe when, doesn't make the cut. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Okay, that's good. I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad everyone's still here. Did the fam make it? Did everyone make it through? I know they care less about the Tigers, but don't want to over assume that everyone's in the family is doing okay post Tiger series.
I will say most of the people in my family typically only care about the Tigers because I care about the Tigers. And they know we do the podcast, and I'm that invested in it. So from a lot of people, it's like, oh, how are the Tigers doing? And I have to be like, whatever at this point. But
right.
For the most part, they don't care. And to be fair, Alex is pretty baseballed out right now with how her Cardinals are performing.
I hear it's rough times over there.
Well, at least they're not... These Tigers aren't going to have to sell a bunch of long-term players.
That they could be long-term players. They're just not sizing up to those standards for us. So I don't know. And whatever part of despair you're at, whatever leg of that marathon you're on. So okay, all right. It's similar situation in my family. It's pretty funny. Like, I mean, my parents, huge Tiger fans, love the Tigers. They obviously know that we do the pod, and they topic of conversation often comes up, and I'm just like, yeah, they lost again. I get it. It's like, all right, like Casey Mize pitched well. I don't know. Reese Olson looked like a Cy Young winner. Scooble looked good. Oh, okay, all right, yeah, and we still lost. So it's just like kind of like the same thing over and over again. I'm like, all right. When is this going to get any better? But I mean, hey, we're diehards. We're here for the long haul, and as much as we try to not ride the roller coaster, I think we are both very much in a low place when it comes to the current situation. So, outside the Tigers, how are we doing? Are things looking up? I have a wonderful birthday weekend that I have planned for myself. I think I'm gonna do a little golf this weekend. Do a little steak night. That me and my friends are going to go to. You have any plans for the weekend?
Not that I can think of. I think my parents are going to watch watch Sailor for an evening, so it'll be a nice little date night and kind of a break from the the bedtime routine and all of that. So that should be nice, and we've been looking forward to that.
What are we doing for date night? You mentioned that earlier. What is on the docket?
It will consist of dinner of some kind and some kind of activity that has not been determined yet. And I do know that it is technically like less than 48 hours away, but that's kind of how we roll. So
yeah, I mean, come on, planning things in 2024. Are we saying like a movie? Are we saying like Dave and Buster's? What are we saying? Axe throwing?
Unsure. I mean, a movie's always in the cards. It's always an option. Could end up at a park. We could end up walking around the mall for a while. It just really depends on honestly, probably how Friday goes in work and how Sailor behaves during the day and stuff. So, yeah, we're very low key people typically. So.
It's been beautiful recently, dude. I mean, like, there's been a couple cooler days, but jeez, it's so crazy how random Michigan weather is. Like, it's like, I mean, like, I know that now we're kind of shifting into springtime, but now we're just at the like, okay, will it be raining? Will it not be raining? Oh, okay, good. It's gonna be raining today. Oh, okay, no, it's gonna be super sunny and super nice. So it's like, okay, can we just have some consistency here? But it's nice that the days are longer. We got some sunshine. That vitamin D, as it were.
We've avoided
feeling good.
We've avoided the tornadoes so far.
Yeah, well, and apparently we are central to Tornado Alley now. I guess that whole thing has moved north. I guess. Oh my gosh, it's so weird too. So it's funny you say that because work. Work, we span and we service like 12 different states or whatever, and like 7 of the 12 have all had tornado issues, and like it's been like we've had to like reschedule appointments, and it's been like a whole thing because of tornadoes. And it's like we're in the Midwest, like this isn't really where you think of tornadoes hitting. But yeah, I mean, like the crazy stuff in Nebraska, we service Nebraska, and it's like, oh, okay, all right, what the name's happening. So we have dodged it. There was one in Portage, of course. There have been a couple sirens here, so thankfully no issues so far. But who knows? It's that time of year, apparently. Right. Do you remember when we were younger and like tornadoes were like a figment of our imaginations living in Michigan?
Yeah, the only exposure we had to it was the monthly tornado sirens going off the first Friday of the month.
Right.
That was it.
And I like in the most I remember, like, we over prepared at school where you had to hold a book over your head. That was a whole thing. And it's like, guys, we have tables right here. Why are we not hiding under the table? No. Go in the hall, hide a book, put a book over your head, and that will save you from the giant spinning wind. Okay.
Yeah, some of these pictures
seems to make a lot of sense.
From Portage, like, I don't know if that book's doing a whole lot anyway.
God's he's just like, all right, I see a book. I will not, that's not where I'm going to go. We're going to go the opposite direction. I was like, I don't know. This is how this works. I don't think Mother Nature really works that way, but okay. All right. That's fine. All right. Well, we've procrastinated enough talking about our failure of a Detroit Tigers team, because this is the Old English D, of course, where we do talk about the Tigers, good or bad, no matter what. We are here. We are, of course, here little bit late this week. We wanted to see how the homestand was going to finish up. We were hoping and optimistic for better things, and here we are. And this is fine. So I figured that there was an off day, and like it just kind of made a little bit more sense with work and stuff. So we appreciate you guys still finding us, still listening on all of the podcast services that you might listen to, and you can find us on the socials at the Old English D Pod. Tigers are 21 and 22, under 500 for the first time this year. And really, I didn't even know if I was prepared to say that. I didn't think that I'd ever really have to say that at any point, judging by how well we started out the year. We only ever really reached 5 or 6 games above 500, but it just really felt like we were not going to have to go down this road. And then just some poor play at home, just some really bad things that happened. We got humbled. We are officially humbled, and well, here we are. So obviously, the offense is the blight on all of the Tigers fandom at the moment. We do not have takeaways for this specific gathering because it would pretty much just be us being quite frustrated with the current state of affairs and on the offensive side of things, and then just being super excited about the pitching staff that just continues to be awesome. Bullpen's taken a little bit of a step back, but it ebbs and flows, and we understand that. We're not totally new to all of this, but the offense is reaching 2019 levels of like, are you kidding me? And there were literally no names on that team too, and that's like also what's frustrating. Is there's actually some key players here. There's some good names. There's some people that we know can produce, and they're just not. So we're gonna have a much needed venting session, talk about some roster transactions, and we got some updates about the organization because I think it's gonna be healthy overall to talk about things other than just the Detroit Tigers. There's other things going on in the Tigers organization. So Josh, kick us off a little bit with a little venting session. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the offense? Do you want to start with the pitching, given their flowers as it were? Where do you want to begin, my friend?
Let's just get the offense out of the way. It's what everybody's talking about. It's what everybody's thinking about. It's just such a curious thing for me. A couple things to highlight about the offense, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. I've updated my comparison spreadsheet here, just comparing the last 4 years, all of the AJ Hinch tenure, and somehow, even though I don't understand how it is still this way, this is the best Detroit Tigers offense in the AJ Hinch era, as a whole. Now, I don't know how much of that truly is powered by some of the early season success that we had, but we're still above. We're still in the positive on run differential somehow, and we haven't been in the negative since around the 21 game mark. Just a lot of mediocre baseball being played, and it's such a weird team to watch right now. Because
it is very strange. What and just real quick while you're here, this spreadsheet that you made, I don't want to undersell it. It is quite fantastic. So you've gone back to 2021 and all the way up until current year 2024 and the current running. And what you're doing is you're taking all these different categories using the baseball savants and the baseball references of the world, and you're compiling all the things that we all the different metrics that we are at after different game thresholds. So for instance, like win percentage, record comparison, home run comparison, you're doing a runs allowed. I mean, you are keeping things here. I don't want to underplay what you're doing. So just kind of looking at some of these stats right here, if we're going to look at record comparison in 2023, at this point we were also at the 20 win mark after 42 games, and now we're at the 21 win, or 43 games I should say. Now we're at the 21 win mark. So it's really interesting to be able to compare all the way back from 2021 to 2024. 2021, much rougher year, 17 wins at this point. In 2022, even worse, 15 wins. So it's a good perspective keeper, and I really like what you're doing here.
Somehow, I don't know how much better it makes me feel looking at some of these things. And even if you look at like the runs scored, we're over 10 runs scored better than we've been any of the last 4 years at this point. And I just don't understand where obviously we've won a lot of close games, but that's a lot of runs over a span of 43 games to be ahead of last year's team by 15 runs scored. And we have a inarguably better offense than we did last year, or a better defensive pitching. I'm trying to do the mental math here real fast, but I think we're 45 runs allowed better than we were last year at this time. So just it's mind-boggling to me that we're this frustrated about the offense. Because if you think about it, you pair the better offense that we have this year, statistically, with the better pitching, the better run prevention, if you will, we should be having quite a few more runs or wins at this point, and we don't.
It's all those close games. And it's a testament to how good we started out. I mean, truly, like, April was the new May this year, and May is the new April. Is the way it's trending to be. And now we're halfway through May, and so we can categorically say that this is going to be a little bit more lackluster of a month. But for the last 4 years, we have struggled to even tread water in April. And now we caught fire in April, and this is what it feels like to get humbled. And so I think we're just now we're starting to plateau, and I think the plateau hurts more because of where we were at. I don't know. Do you see it differently, or?
Well, not necessarily, because those are factual things. We had a better April, and we're having a worse May, all things considered. But like, we didn't necessarily even catch fire during April. We were slightly above 500 in April. And so when you
true. It's good for us, though. It's good for us.
Right, comparatively to the past. Yeah, through 31 games, or however we're going to categorize that, we had 18 wins. But
I guess the hardest part for me is your original prediction, right, for April was 14 and 16, right? I almost would have preferred, and we ended up, 18 and I think 13 or whatever, 18, 14. I almost would have preferred to be where you were at and then been better in in May. And then like had like the, like a catch fire now, because it's like, okay, like now we feel like we're just like crumbling, and again, ebbs and flows or whatever. But I think that's what sucks the most, and that's what's hard about this year, is because we started out so well and we felt like there were so many good things, and now the plateau and really the decline is coming at such a rapid clip. But
it's going to be a real test, and I am ever, and ask anyone, I am ever the hopeful, optimistic person. But this is the real test for AJ Hinch, and to a lesser extent Scott Harris, and we'll get into that here momentarily. But this is going to be the real test to see how this organization rallies around this team, and how the team performs now under some pressure. You're seeing some pressure now. You're seeing this team have to look itself in the eyes and say, this is a problem. We have an issue. We have a deficiency. And now we're going to have to figure it out. This team is, I don't understand how we look so good on the road. We're 11-9 on the road, and we're 10-13 at home. That's not a winning formula.
Not fun. We made Comerica worse. I mean, I think it's time to. I mean, I know we don't have the largest sample size to be able to say that, but it is a tougher ballpark to play in now, which is crazy to say because, bringing the fences in, you'd think it brings more home runs, but the problem is, and not to be like whatever, but no one was really hitting home runs to center field anyways. Like, there was the every once in a while 430 or whatever, but now even 412 is still hard to get out. And then you factor in the wind, you factor in the cold conditions that it is for literally 2 months of the baseball season, and then you still have cold days in June sometimes, and it's just still an incredibly hard ballpark to play in. Is it maybe a little bit easier to get a home run now? Yeah, for sure. I think that metric probably plays out. Is it a lot harder to get an extra base hit? 1,000,000%. And that's what's killing us, is like, you're not going to have the once every maybe 2 games, 3 games, that triple or that double that's up the gap that's like impossible to get. Maybe that comes once every 5 games now. But it's interesting because, everyone's been pulling for this. Everyone's been really wanting the dimensions to change. And I think overall it is a good thing. It was ridiculous that it was as far as it was, but it's proving to be a very interesting case study for this Tigers team, because I don't think we're built to hit the home run, especially when Torque isn't hitting home runs. And so it's like, okay, well, why are we really, trying to play to the home run when the home run's really never been our friend? So I don't know. It's an interesting thing. You mentioned You mentioned Scott. My biggest question for all of this is just where is Scott Harris? Like like I feel like this time last year we had at least 2 tangible interviews with Scott Harris at this point. You had the 2 that I can think of right off the top of my head, where he would sit by Hinch and they would kind of discuss some things and whatever. And I get it, that's his first year, and that's, he really wants to introduce himself as the face of the franchise. But I mean, we've had the City Connect situation. We've had some pretty big, establishments happen, as far as the beginning of the year and probably a pretty good start to April. You would think that he wants to kind of solidify himself as again, the face of the franchise, doing some pretty good things. And now he's let it get to a point where it's like, all right, we're 43 games in the year. We're past the quarter mark, and we haven't seen Scott Harris or Jeff Greenberg, and new GM, and it's like, what is happening? So I think AJ, and you mentioned it, like AJ is really the guy, and he's really the face of everything at the current moment, and Scott's okay with that. They need to deliver some answers. Did you get a chance to see his press conference after the game today?
I never got to it. No, I didn't. We were talking
you
earlier.
didn't miss much. Yeah. Oh, I understand. Shutting off baseball when the Tigers lose is it's a very healthy decision, let me tell you. Or at least play like they do. They can lose and it be like whatever. It's just how they lose. Mm-hmm. It's always about the how, No, you didn't miss much, honestly. He was just talking a little bit about, anything I say up on the, of course they asked him about the offense and everything. And he's like, everything I say up here is just going to come across as an excuse. And I agree with him. I think that's a fair analysis of the current state of affairs, or, what talking out of it could look like. But he did say that, you look at this team and you can collectively say one thing, or you can collectively diagnose the problem, but we have 15 different swings and we have 15 different approaches, and there's just a million different things that we have to run down. It's like, I hear you, but it's also like, aren't we making it a little bit more complicated than it needs to be? Like, they are all swinging at the first pitch. All of them. In any given situation. They are being aggressive, and they are being overly aggressive most of the time. And their swing decisions, correct me if I'm wrong, quite questionable all the time. And so it's like, okay, there are underlying things that everyone's doing that we can say, like, I get it. Yep. You have a different trigger. I get it. You have a different, tap, toe tap. You have a different, eye for fastballs. You have a different eye for off speed. I get all of that. It's all going to be different person to person, but we might be overcomplicating it just a little bit. I don't know. It was interesting, but
we've still not gotten to the point where this team has had a consistently good game plan against a starting pitcher.
Right.
All year. Mm-hmm. All year. 43 games. And we've made multiple quad A pitchers look like Cy Young candidates, because we come to the plate every inning with, well, I guess I'm going to figure it out as I go here. It really...
Right. And of course there are the outlier examples. I mean, the game that I went to, right, Christian Javier, that they destroyed him, but it's like, but that's once every however many exactly. And it's the consistency, it's that execution. He did mention, we got to go out and we got to execute. It's like, okay, but like, what is the plan for the D-back series? Like, what is the plan? Because I don't really see it right now. You have guys like Mark Canha, you have guys like Matt Vierling, you have guys like Riley Green, who are all very, very capable hitters. Wenzel Perez, my gosh, like, this kid is amazing. And like, I have nothing but good things to say about him. He's now at this point replaced all of Parker Meadows' time, because Parker Meadows isn't on the team, and he's been nothing but amazing. He's getting the base hits. I love him, batting at the kind of top half of the lineup. They have good pieces, but it's just that X factor. Like, it's just that coming together and making, meaningful hits, getting 2-out hits and scoring runs is proven to be a challenge. I mean, not to be whatever, but I'm sure you saw on the Twitters, on the X's, the the Marlins came into the series with the worst team ERA in baseball at like a 5-something. And we got shut out twice by them. And like, it's like, that's unacceptable. Like that really, like we can't do that. Now, again, if we had lost the games in a little bit more serviceable of a fashion, maybe, like I can understand that we're scoring some runs, whatever, it just didn't go our way. But yeah, and I don't know how you feel about that extra innings game, but I said it to you when we were watching. I was like, this game goes to extra innings, it's done. Like it's over. There's no shot. And of course, Wenzel just couldn't come up big in that exact moment. But was there anything else that you wanted to get off your chest?
The fact that Wenzel is probably our most consistent hitter, at least in the last week. And he's getting all of this glowing praise, duly so, as a guy who is in the position that he's in. He's not even, when you look at comparison to the league, he's not even that good of a hitter statistically. He's hitting .289 with an .841 OPS. Like, cool. Like, that when you compare him to the rest of the team, obviously he looks great, but you go down the list of the guys who played today, and you could point out every single one of them that is having issues right now. Every single last one of them is struggling, especially against the Marlins, but even against the Guardians, even against the Astros. Obviously we had the good games against the Astros offensively, but it really just feels like a mistake when we score. Like either the other team has made a mistake and somehow we're in this ball game now, or even those first 3 runs we scored on Monday against Miami. It was very much like, how in the world did we just score 3 runs? And there's no shot that we get to score another one here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it didn't feel safe either, which is weird because our pitching's been so good, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel safe. You bring up a good point too about the Marlins series. I was thinking about it. Our offense, like just like the lineup in general, against left-handed pitching, looks like a minor league team. Like there's nothing scary about that offense, especially when Torque isn't doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not afraid of anyone in that lineup, and that's why they can make Weathers look like Randy Johnson or Andy Pettit.
Yeah.
CC Sabathia. He is not that great this year. And he has good stuff. He can have good nights. I'm not saying that. He was leaving plenty of mistakes over the plate. Trevor Rogers, I didn't actually see the game today because I was at work and actually functioning like a normal human being and not worrying about the Tigers losing 2-0. It was a very healthy experience. And I'm sure there was plenty of hittable pitches that Trevor Rogers was throwing. Also not having a great year. And it's bad approach. It's feeling like we're down and out even now when we feel like, oh yeah, we can come back in games like the whole, we score a bunch of runs in the 8th inning, that's kind of fizzled and gone away. We are not clicking on really any cylinders offensively. And it's so sad because, you want every single one of anyone who's in the lineup on any given night to literally personally apologize to the pitcher because, obviously Kasey looked great today. He had the struggle in the first inning. You're going to give up home runs. It's a natural part of baseball. I don't even think it was the worst pitch ever. It was just the wrong pitch at the wrong time. Mm-hmm. And then he goes out and, shoves for the next 5 innings. It's not his fault. And then, of course, we all saw it with Reese. This is a truly historic run that he's on with the lack of run support. It's past Verlander levels of Tigers not being able to score runs and not providing wins for this kid. He looked awesome. He should be rewarded for that. I know he'll never be the type that's like whining about it, never going to be the type that's going to complain about it, but it wears on you mentally. It's not it's not easy to go out and do what he did and know that I can't make a mistake. I can't make a mistake. If I make a mistake, we're going to lose this game. And AJ preaches wins. Scott Harris preaches wins. I cannot make a mistake right now. And then what happens? You make a mistake. And so it's like, where does the buck stop? And we have the names, we have the pieces. There's just not a lot of meshing and gelling that's happening right now. One more thing I wanted to mention just briefly, the game, and I'm going to touch on this. I can't let it go. This is bringing us back a little bit, but the first Astros game, where Chafin accumulated his third blown save. I need to know. I need to know the thinking. And to be fair, McCoskey did ask kind of the question. Chris McCoskey kind of asked the question post game, why are we bringing Chafin in there? He framed it in such a way that just kind of accepted that it was going to be a lefty period. Literally, the Bally Sports broadcast, as soon as Chafin came in, got the stats. And then when it came back from commercial break, had all of the slugging percentages of the next three batters against lefties, who was Altuve, it was Jordan Alvarez, and it was Kyle Tucker. Every single one of them had a slugging percentage, not an OPS, sorry, a slugging percentage over 450 against lefties. Altuve, of course, is a righty. Jordan is a lefty. Kyle Tucker is a lefty. Why are we playing the righty-lefty game against them? Like that, like what? And in the question that McCoskey asked, it looked like you were going to go to a Tyler Holton, and you went to Chafin, and it's like Tyler Holton's still a lefty. I don't like maybe there's but they're both slow. They're both slow pitch lefties. What are we doing? They hit lefties better than they hit righties. We had that game in the bag. I mean, I know it's a close game. Momentum was all in our favor. And then what do? We just throw it. Like Hinch is typically good with the bullpen. Like there are few and far betweens where there are mistakes. But every once in a while, it does feel like, explain to me that decision, because I do not get it. And you can attest for me. I was not very happy because it did not seem like we were really putting our thinking caps on for that one, because the Astros clearly hit lefties. Altuve, he hits anyone, I get it, but especially lefties. And leading off the inning with a base hit, it was just it was like a vision from the heavens. And that inning went exactly how I thought it was. Now, they scored a lot more runs than I thought they were going to. I thought they were just going to tie the game and it was going to be like whatever, but Chafin is struggling right now. He's clearly not finding his release point on many of his pitches, but especially his slider. And it's not looking great. So like we mentioned last week, the whole bullpen shakeup is still happening, and there's still, been some regression out there. But yeah, dude, that Chafin game, first game against the Astros was tough, to say the least. Did you have any other thoughts on that specific move from Hinch?
I'm not going to be the one that defends AJ in this situation, because I didn't think no matter who you put in, it should have been Chafin, just because of his issues in Cleveland, and he looked shaky before that outing period. So again, I'm not going to be the one that defends him there, but neither of us are helped out by the fact that Foley came in after Chafin and also had a bad outing, and also the offense disappeared, per usual, and you don't score enough runs, and clearly the Tigers were not going to score enough runs to win that game, and here we are. So just problems compounding upon problems, again, dooms the Tigers. So if we had lost by one run, and that one run was the Andrew Chafin situation, I would be much more upset to your degree about that move. But when literally nothing else worked the rest of the game, period, offensively, defensively, pitching wise, like it is what it is. Like whatever. It was a bad Tigers loss.
Yeah. When do you think we hear from Scott? And when do you want to hear from Scott?
Well, yesterday, to the last question.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the what I envision happening, that hope happens, and I'm kind of dreaming will happen, but also, kind of speaking it into existence, hoping that the best will happen. Hopefully, it will come in a calling up of Jace Young or Malloy or a prospect to help the offense. And he does one of his, inning or two in the Bally broadcast type of deal. But that's, I think, best case scenario in what we're looking at right now. But if I'm being realistic, I mean, I think it's probably around All-Star time if that doesn't happen.
Wow, you think we're moving? You think we're waiting that long?
For Scott specifically, I think there's a better chance that we hear from Greenberg or even somebody else
Really?
in the organization.
I don't know if we're ever hearing from him.
He did a whole deal in spring training.
Yeah. Do you remember of much of what he said?
Oh no, I mean he's just Scott Harris cloned, so it's not like it's anything different. But
yeah, he doesn't really seem like the one to galvanize the fan base. Scott, I will listen to Scott talk for months on end. I'm totally okay with that. Not necessarily saying everything's working on Millhouse and whatever. I mean, the team's under 500, so it's a bad look. But it would have been an interesting time. You bring up the thing about prospects. Why didn't he come out and say something about Perez? Like you made that move. You added him to the 40-man. Why don't you take your victory lap there?
Because he's the team's number 20 prospect.
Well, right, but he had to be protected. And Jace Young and Malloy, and I mean, and I think Malloy may be on the 40-man, but Jace Young definitely isn't. And when you have to make those moves, it's not necessarily something, because you have to do something else, and typically it's someone else losing their job unless you have like a big injury to have happen. And so you're usually bringing the bad news with you. So like with the Perez situation, you could have spun it where, hey, this is a guy we're super excited about, yada, yada, yada. And, maybe it doesn't go this way. Maybe of course he doesn't have the start that, he's had, but then you could really be the face of that decision and say, yeah, I mean, look, we knew what we had with this guy. We wanted to protect him. And, he's been a part of this team for however many years. It's time to see what you have, and here he is having a lot of fun. So that's an interesting point. I'm kind of surprised that he wasn't the one to make that move, and it was definitely one of those moves that was like out of necessity. I mean, it was like, okay, all these guys are going down at any given time, and here we are. Now we're stuck, but there isn't a lot of spin being put out on some of these decisions. So that's interesting. Or maybe Velade, which.
Velade.
Here I am correcting people. No, it's Velade. Did you hear this? I'm pretty sure it's Velade, isn't it? Or am I mixing it up now? I could be mixing it up
because we said Velade in the last pod, and then during the game.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, and now here's how I remember it. Somebody made the Velade runner pun, and I was like, oh, that's how I'm going to remember this.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, okay. So it's Velade. So you would think that with the Velade, maybe that transaction, like, okay, here's another guy that I picked up. Let's see how he does. And then, he does well. He has a couple good games. Didn't obviously stay up for too long, but yeah, if I'm going to say we go to the 60 game mark, 62 games, because that seems like, obviously 162 games. If we go past the 62 game mark and we haven't heard from Scott, that's conspicuous. That's super conspicuous. Like, I don't follow every other team. I don't know how often President of Baseball Operations talk, yada, 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 but I know they're talking more than that. Like there's things to be done and conversations to be had. And especially when now you have a couple key people going down to injuries, you've got to kind of have a little bit of a town hall meeting. I understand the closed door approach. I understand what Hinch preaches with that, especially with his staff, and I think Scott Harris has taken a lot of pages out of his book about that too. There is some amount of health in being a little bit transparent with your fan base. We have a team now, and we have people that are following this team day in and day out at this point that do deserve some kind of acknowledgement. This team has a lot of backing. It has a lot of hype behind it. Maybe, this start isn't what everyone anticipated, but there are eyes watching now. And I understand like setting a precedent when eyes aren't watching is important, and they did that. But now especially when people are watching, it's like, okay, how does this guy run his team? How does he run his community? And to kind of be like this now, 43 games in the year, quarter of the way, that's fine. We're not totally pressing there. But maybe 6-2 games, we start looking around and we're like, okay, what's happening here? So I would say, yeah, if it goes past that point, we start having some questions. But
think about how long or how often we heard from Avila for reference. Like, I still think Avila at least was as communicative so far as Harris, and that's not necessarily good look for Harris, because that was one of the major complaints, is that like Avila's on his yacht somewhere making moves. And
you could also make the argument though he talked too much.
Well, when you
could make that argument, right? But I'm just saying, like, yeah, and that's fair. Maybe he a little long-winded. But there was probably plenty of times where it's like, did you really need to say that? Did you like, is that really what you need to say? He knew he was a soundbite. He knew he was a soundbite. Maybe Scott's feeling like that too. Maybe he just doesn't want to be a soundbite. Maybe he feels like, okay, if I don't have anything good to say, why would I say it? Kind of thing. But it's like, all right, well, we got to keep the peace. We got to keep the peace somehow. All right. We got some roster transactions that have a growing list at this point. Now that we're done with the Marlins series, it finally happened. Hashtag mystery injury. I was starting to think I was crazy. We talked a lot about it. A lot of my predictions are hitting. A lot of things are kind of checking out. Whatever. We'll see if the win-loss prediction maps out at all. But one that was not hitting, and I was like, wow, this might actually turn out to be a little bit better than advertised. Kenta Maeda had not had an injury yet. Now he is injured with a viral illness. Do you remember the last time someone went on the 15-day IL with a viral illness, Josh?
I don't.
Okay. I mean, I could have missed something. I don't really know. I didn't even know you could put people on the IL with an illness. I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, you got to put them on something, but like, I don't know. There's got to be something. Some kind of, like, there's a 7-day. It's not necessarily an IL. I know it's more like a bereavement or whatever. It doesn't really apply here, but there's got to be something. But I truly think they're using this as like an extended spring training. He has gone from bad start to bad start to bad start to good start to mediocre start to bad start. And now we're like, okay, what are we doing? And so maybe a little bit of roster manipulation, maybe a little bit of hat tip to Matt Manning that, hey, we see you, we understand, we get it. You are probably more of a major league pitcher than you are being allotted right now. Let's do something. And so, yeah, Kenta Maeda, viral illness. Seems like he's going to miss he's already missed one start, at least one more, but realistically probably 3. And even more interestingly, he's staying in Detroit for this next homestand, or for this next road trip. And so I'm not sure when he's going to join the team again. Again, everything I'm kind of hearing about this is it seems like it's kind of more like an extended spring training. He's going to need a rehab assignment. He's going to need some time to get better. There has been a bug going around. Canna had it. They say whatever Wensil had during I think it was the Cleveland series. They said it was a little bit different than what Canna had. Mm-hmm. Seemed like Wensil just had food poisoning. I don't know. There seems to be something going around, but clearly what Kenta has is different than all of this. So Akil Baddoo was called up. Gosh. What, talk about someone to make a spark in the offense. I didn't even get to see him swing, dude. I like he had one at bat. I didn't even get to watch it. Hits a triple. Yeah, I didn't get to watch it because the Tigers were losing 9-0, and it was Justin Verlander, and I was crying in my pillow. And he comes up and hits a triple, and he scores on a pass ball or whatever. But no, let's send the kid down. Let's send the kid. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, Josh.
We haven't scored a run.
Anything to say about? Oh my gosh. Oh jeez. Well, wait. We scored we won one of the games against Miami.
He got sent down after the first game.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
He didn't get an at bat.
I thought you were saying we haven't scored. Gotcha. I thought you were saying we haven't scored a run since he scored. Understood. I mean, you're almost right. If you delete one game, you're right. Right. Okay, I get it. So yeah, anything to add on in the Kenta thing and the Badu call up and then quickly sent down right thereafter?
Not really. I mean, Hinch and company were very clear with Badu that this was probably a short-lived thing, and it's a small reward for doing some good things at AAA. You still feel for the kid, and you want him to, get a better opportunity than one at bat, and even, get more of an opportunity after you hit a triple in your only at bat. So I don't know. This team, this roster construction right now is just so wonky, and it feels like they're trying to kind of balance the ship, and we're listing quite heavily to one side, and and another lefty isn't going to help us, especially when we can't hit lefties. So it's just a bad place, wrong time.
It's a fair point.
For Badu.
Yeah, I mean, I do, again, like that X factor that he brings, that spark that he brings. It's like, it's as infuriating as every time that Cameron Maybin came back to the Tigers and he produced just fine and was a great leadoff hitter and was a great spark plug, and then we traded him every year. And like, I know we didn't really earn keeping him. I understand we had to get the prospects, all of that. I completely understand. But it's like, he wasn't that bad. Wait, this is the spark. This is us going down. And the Badu kind of has that same mentality where it's like this guy he does something to the team. He reinvigorates. It's funny. We'll get into it. But the game that I went to on Saturday, that was the game that he got called up. Another situation where I'm at Comerica Park and Badu is just there. Like, I didn't see him this time, and he wasn't just warming up and actually in the lineup. Wait, I still had to get a notification, but he was in the dugout. And it just happened to be the game that I went to. Last game I went to, Badu was just there. He had gotten called up, and he was in the starting lineup. I don't know. It definitely wasn't because I was wearing the Badu jersey, because I decided to wear the Kasey Mize jersey instead, because I wanted to, wear a Tigers jersey that was actually on the team. I would have been right either way, I guess, if I had done the Badu thing. But I feel bad for him. I hope he's not too saddened by getting sent down. He is doing some good things. Seems like has some changes with his timing and his hand placement where he holds the bat. So hopefully we can get another call up and help spark the offense. Obviously Matt Manning is the real replacement for Kenta in the rotation. Seems like he's gonna finally get a fair shake. Already had one start. Pitched pretty well. I mean, nothing fantastic. Gave up a few runs. It was no Reese Olson outing. It was, no Tarek Skubal outing.
Start.
But exactly right. Quality start. His fastball velo looked a lot better, I will say. It was more consistent. I don't really necessarily care so much about the 98s or the 97s. I just want consistent 94, 95. Mm-hmm. But he'll hover up and down. Jack Flaherty's kind of dealing with that too a little bit. Like. He'll pump it up to 98 at one point, and then he also throw an 89 mile an hour fastball. It's like, okay, what are we doing here? So I don't know, and who knows why? Clearly their deliveries are inconsistent. But Ryan Valade was the send down for Matt Manning. So a lot of roster churn happening. A lot of the quadruple A players getting their couple at bats and then going down. I kind of liked Valade. Baseball Jesus, as he's come to be known on the X's. I kind of liked him. I liked what he brought. Finally got his first MLB hit out of the way. That was a really cool story. Only took him, I think it was 180 some odd games or something in between, or whatever, and then 2.5 years or something. I don't know. It was a cool story. I really liked it. Did you also catch on to the baseball Jesus talk on X?
It was a fun one game he had. He really didn't do anything other
He
than
started
that.
too.
Well, he didn't really do much other than that first game he had where he had the runs driven in against Cleveland and all of that. So
It definitely went downhill pretty quickly. We'll see if we see him up again. I think they overall like what he brings, and he's a right-handed bat, something that you mentioned that we don't have a lot of. So something to keep an eye on. And then the big surprise. We had talked about it. Didn't want this reality to be a thing. But Shelby Miller is having some tough times. He looked quite inconsistent. Sure enough, he's been having some soreness. They're shutting him down. So he is on the IL now. He has not even thrown a baseball. I don't think he's picked up a baseball since they shut down. I think it was retroactively to May 12th. So ulnar nerve inflammation, any of these internal, kind of intricacies with the arm, it's never good. So he is going with the team to Phoenix, and he's going to get seen by some Phoenix doctors. Now, do you think that your typical prediction of saying anytime they're getting further evaluation turns out to be a bad thing? What do you think here?
I think this is more of a mystery injury than Kenta Maeda.
Oh, okay.
I think with the profile of the pitcher, Kenta, I think this is the viral illness thing. It was kind of going around the clubhouse, and it could be an excuse to put him on the 15-day and to give Manning a shot and let Kenta work things out as well as get better from illness. I don't know that there's a whole lot of cynicism behind that one necessarily. This one, Shelby's been having some rough outings lately. Now, whether it's actually due to this ulnar nerve situation or not, I don't know. I don't know, dude. The guys with the splitter, you always wonder because it seems like it affects.
It's the year of the splitter.
Well,
yeah,
you feel like it affects the
Manning
arm
has a splitter now too.
Well, and you wonder about his velocity and consistency.
There is purely just very little care right now in pitchers' arms. There is a next one up mentality, and it is just we're gonna run these arms into the ground, send the next one up, and in this case, right, who's the next one up? Bo Brisky, he was equally qualified. I mean, he throws 98. He's had some pretty good outings in AAA. Dude always has that nasty changeup. Next one up. There is so little. I don't want to say care, because obviously they care about their players, but there is not a lot of attention being paid to the pitches that clearly create problems. And you're right, yes, splitters have a tendency to, at least on the surface, have that connotation. Numbers, they don't necessarily always grade out like that. It sometimes so happens that yes, they're the off-speed pitch of choice that happened to be the pitch that they throw. They also got Tommy John. Is there correlation or causation? It's a tough sell. But the thing with the splitter specifically, exactly, the thing with in obviously the thing with the splitter, but not just the splitter, all of the baseball repertoire is you're just doing an unnatural motion to your arm 100 times in a short succession of time, and doing it at the most intensity that your body can produce on every single pitch. It's up and down baseball as a whole. It's up and down Little League as a whole, and college baseball just the same, right? And so that there is clearly an issue here. And Shelby Miller, he's had his share of injuries, right? That he's he's no stranger to any of this. And now that he's getting older, it is interesting that he picked such a volatile pitch to go with. I don't also necessarily think his splitter's that great either. Like I know that the Tigers really want him to even ditch the slider, but I think right now it's very much just a show me pitch, and it's not really like a swing and miss weapon. So we got to get him right. I am still very enthusiastic about that signing. I'm not enthusiastic at all about ulnar nerve inflammation. That sounds pretty bad. And then yeah, like I alluded to, and maybe it's nothing, but I think the further evaluation in Phoenix is nothing good either. Bo Brisky still hasn't pitched though.
He pitched today.
So. Oh, he did. He did make it in. How'd he do?
He had a good inning. Yeah.
Okay.
Fastball
good.
on the
pumping 98.
Yep, 98. Looked good. Had good command. I think he allowed a hit and got out of the inning. So.
I have to tell you, that game that I went to on Saturday, when he came in, Shelby came in to get that he had to get a double play ball to get out of the inning. Woo! I thought it was all over. I was like, oh my gosh, this is how it all ends. This is how it all ends. This is somehow going to go badly, and it was going to be poetic that he was like going to be my guy, and then he was going to ruin that game for me. But then, toe slide, toe tap, toe slide. Thank God, and thank God for review too. It's a good thing.
True.
It's overall a good thing. Gio Urshela is also back. Fortunately, unfortunately, fortunately for defense, unfortunately for offense, it seems. Now, I think he'll find his stride again, but just a bad showing today. I was pretty upset with his at bat with bases loaded. It was 2 outs. I get it, but I mean he looked like Javi sitting up there.
He looked like he had no idea a changeup was coming every single pitch.
He got 3 of them too. He got 3
None of them were close to the strike zone either.
It's just we bail them out, dude. We just bail out the pitchers. We don't even give them a chance to feel scared of the situation. You are in complete control in that moment. Nope. Done. Just gonna end the inning just like that. Badu, of course, was the move. We already mentioned to go back down for Gio. I think it's overall a good thing. I'm glad that he's back. I like him. I like his presence on the team. He does make a lot of contact. He seems to not really have a sense of the strike zone right now, so we'll see how all of that maps out as it comes through. So, moving on a little bit from the Tigers, you wanted to talk a little bit about how the minor league affiliates are doing. And, of course, we have Toledo. Of course, we have the Seawolves. Of course, we have the Whitecaps that we care most about. Also, the Lakeland Flying Tigers that are flying out there. Doing their thing, but the biggest ones, of course, are West Michigan Whitecaps, Toledo Mud Hens, and the Erie Seawolves. How are they doing, Josh? I'm gonna look up some records right now. There were a couple key players that you wanted to mention as well. Who do you have your eye on so far? Who's making an impact in the minor leagues?
Well, for starters, the guys that are doing really well, that we really love to see, Jace Young and Justin Henry Malloy, have the 2 highest OPS numbers of the guys in our top prospects anyway. Jace Young. Wow, sorry, literally reading words. Jace Young with a 924 OPS right now. He's had 124 at bats, 35 hits, 10 doubles, a triple, 6 homers, 27 RBIs, 26 walks to 42 strikeouts, which is something that I'm really excited to see.
Oh my gosh.
Walk rate of 16.7, which is awesome. His on-base percentage is 400. So,
Scott Harris is happy about that.
Yeah, so
Scott Harris is happy about that.
I just really hope that he's viewed as a option. I know he's probably won't be. I know it'll be a struggle to get him into this team for whatever reason. But another guy, sneaky guy, that's been doing pretty well is Dylan Dingler. By all reports, his defense has improved exponentially the last couple of years, and now he's starting to add a little bit of hitting to it. He's hitting 250 batting average with a 726 OPS. In 92 at-bats, he's got 23 hits, 5 doubles, 4 homers, and he has a extremely low strikeout rate for a catcher. So I'm excited.
Jake Rogers better be on watch.
Well, with 3
just saying, just the
3
defense.
Hit Kelly, you know.
Yep.
But other than that, looking at just some outlying stuff, Howie Lee's having a decent start. He's hitting 265 in Erie. Let us see here. How are we saying this kid's name? Can you remind me? He's unable. It's
Oh, I know
Josue.
exactly who you're talking. Yeah, it's Jose.
Jose. Okay.
Yep,
Jose
it's Jose.
Briseño.
Briseño. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he's hitting.
The one that I completely butchered.
Well, to be fair, I also helped you butcher it.
I think I said Jasu.
Well, technically it should be Josue. But, however he wants to pronounce it. He's hitting 306 with a 305 on-base percentage.
Nice. Campos is doing well, too.
He is.
Down in...
He is. He's hitting for a little more power, which is what we want to see from him. Mm-hmm. Somehow he's still 20 years old. I don't...
It's like Perez,
it's the same thing.
It's like Wenzel. It's like it's like they're just gonna hover around forever. You mentioned about Jace. You may be right here with this whole he's coming to Detroit this year. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't think there'd be a space for him. I mean, and it really just goes to show how dire of a situation we are with the offense. But I mean, at some point they got to push the hand. The problem is we do have precedent set with Colt Keith, and Colt was arguably having even a crazier year up until this point, and then obviously went on a meteoric stretch for the rest of the year, and we didn't call him up. So there is still a precedent set here. I guess the precedent that was set is he's going to sign some kind of 8-year long contract and come up and not have the greatest of starts, but also be the unluckiest hitter in Major League Baseball. Really, really glad to see that you're sticking through it, Colt. We forgot to mention you have made a lot of better swings recently. You are so close. You're right there. Keep
We're
at
cheering
it, buddy,
for you, Colt.
please.
We really are.
Exactly, 100%. But Jace Young seems to be following that same pattern where he's going to have a fantastic year. He, of course, didn't start out in Double-A, so I think that's really the difference maker here is that they may see something a little bit different in his defense, and I think that's really what kept Colt down for as long as it did was that defensive side of the ball. They wanted to really make sure that, okay, if we bring this guy up, can he hold his own? And I think this move to third is actually turned some heads. It seems like he has a howitzer at third base. It is a little weird because we have so many depth pieces at third base that I don't really know. I mean, if Gio keeps on doing what he's doing, we'll see. But I'm starting to soften on that point that the offense just may need it. Period. There may have to be some kind of reconciliation with Jace Young and realizing that. Yeah, we need a bat like this, and let's just see what you can do, and we'll figure out the defense as it comes along. We could use a 400 on base percentage.
One guy.
It was sad to see too that Malloy was hurt for as long as he was.
Yes.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. To your point, I wanted to mention that too. I didn't realize that it was that big of a deal either until
it really wasn't, or they're at least trying to make it not a big deal, but. Yeah. You're out for like 7 games is what's happening here.
And really quickly, while we're going over some top prospect numbers, 2 guys I wanted to highlight on the pitching side. Ty Madden, he's kind of slowed down a little bit since his hot start. But Troy Melton, he's doing some really good things in Erie. 25 innings pitched. He's got a 2.88 ERA with 10 walks, 39 strikeouts in 29 innings. So that's really good from him. The other guy, Jaden Ham with the Whitecaps right now. 28 innings pitched.
I've heard a lot of things about Ham.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 28 innings pitched, 4 walks, 43 strikeouts. He's got a 0.94 ERA and a 0.94 whip. So he's due for a trip to Erie here very shortly.
Nice. Okay. All right. I like that. Yeah, and they just called. Did they call up? Was it Melton that they called up to Toledo to take Manning's spot?
I saw a roster move happen today, and I completely missed who and when.
Well, yeah, maybe if you have a moment, take a look at it. But the records that I found, Toledo currently sitting at 22-17. That's second placed in the International League West. They are 2 games back. They have a +5 run differential. So, while for the offense, it seems to be doing really well. Of course, the pitching maybe is taking a little lackluster. Interestingly enough, 14-7 at home, Josh. 14-7. They know how to play at home. They are 8-10 on the road, but they are definitely holding their own. The Erie Seawolves, 19-13, 2.5 games back in the Eastern League Conference. They are 7-3 in their last 10, so they're on a good streak here. They have lost their last 2. They have a plus 36 run differential, and man, what I would give to have a plus 36 run differential. Holy wow. 11-5 at home and 8-8 away. So they actually do follow the standard, hey, we're going to play well at home and not the greatest away. That's typically how baseball teams should operate. But the one team I forgot to look up, let's see how the Whitecaps are doing. Whitecaps record. Let us see.
So the transactions...
The West Michigan Whitecaps, they're 16-19. They are below 500 with a -1 run differential. So not so great here in West Michigan. Haven't been to a Whitecaps game this year, but probably get out at some point.
We were hoping to see some Max Clark, but he's having a kind of a ho-hum start to his year, so he's not up quite yet. No, the transactions were Andrew Magno from Erie to Toledo and Angel Reyes from West Michigan to Erie.
Gotcha. Okay, so it was an M name, wrong M name.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah. So it sounds like he's taken the spot of Manning. Depth is good, man. We got some good depth pieces. We have some good prospects on the way. Of course, we didn't even talk about Jackson Jobe. I think he's down with an injury right now. Unfortunately, it's nothing major or anything. I just think it's a back thing again. But of course, everyone talks about Max Clark. Had a little bit slower start. But Jace Young seems to be the prized possession at this point, and I really want to see what this kid can do. We are going to hear rally cries for him to come up at the All-Star break if we're still kind of hovering, at or below 500. So don't think it's going to happen on just a whim. I think things have to kind of come together for that to happen. A couple injuries have to happen. You never want to wish for those because then it puts the organization and the team in a pretty dire situation. But I think if Scott had it his way, we wouldn't see Jace Young this year. But this could be a different situation this year where everything kind of tips the scales and we have to make a move. So excited for Jace, excited for the hot start. We saw it with the spring breakout game, just demolishing pitching, and we know these kids can make a difference. And I'd much rather him come up and kind of go through his learning curve that Colt Keith is going through right now this year, when we don't necessarily have to be amazing, and also the division is really, really good for seemingly no reason. Why doesn't he, come up and earn his stripes and figure out major league hitting, and then when it actually matters and when games have to be won, he's ready for it and he's ready for the big time. But I don't think I'm preaching to or preaching anything that people don't agree with. I just don't necessarily think the people in power are going to see it that way. So yeah. I don't know. We shall see. You mentioned Max Clark's little bit slow start. Do you have any numbers on Max Clark?
I do. I've got all of the numbers. All the numbers. Max Clark right now in 112 at bats in Single A Lakeland. He has 28 hits, 2 doubles, 2 triples, a homer. He has 21 walks to 23 strikeouts, which I'm excited about that. 10 stolen bases. He's hitting .250 with a .363 on-base percentage and a .693 OPS. So he's picked it up a little bit recently, I believe. Right. So
yeah, that home run, the Tigers Twitter would not let you forget it, not let you unsee it, and everyone got super excited about it. I think the kid still has potential. I just think there's a lot of flash and not a lot of flair there. Just not a lot of things to back it up yet. So we'll see. And of course, Wyatt Langford isn't tearing up Texas or anything, but he's also in the majors. Oh, is he hurt now?
Yeah, he's been on the 15-day.
Man, the Rangers.
For a couple weeks.
man, the Rangers, they have problems being healthy.
Well, that's what happens when you have an older
Also,
World Series team.
yeah, I mean, I guess, and I mean, the Guardians just win against everyone, I guess, but they did not hand the Guardians any kind of trouble whatsoever. So, MLB Pipeline also made some updates to their top 100 prospect list, and couple moves for the Tigers as a whole. The more minute ones, of course, we mentioned Jace Young. He's had a little bit of an uptick. He went from 53rd on the original ranking that came out earlier this year to now 48th. So some more progress there. Max Clark took a little bit of a dip, which I think is warranted at this point. I don't think he's come out blazing hot. So he went from 11th to 13th. Just a modest regression, but I think it all makes sense. Our buddy Jackson Jobe, though, now the number one pitching prospect in the minor leagues because Paul Skeens has had his own day reserved for him, mind you. Went from 21st overall to the top 10. Josh, how much do you think his appearance with the Tigers in spring influenced this big jump?
I don't know how much it necessarily influenced it, but it definitely showcased the ceiling. And I think that's a lot of what this is. He hasn't been on the mound to back it up a ton, which is probably not a great look, but clearly it didn't, change anybody's minds because we're, still here talking about him and he's still made this move. So, no, I don't know that it was that big of a deal for the old voters over at MLB Pipeline. I'm not even sure who all is a part of that because, I mean, it's put out by MLB, so it's all MLB. So I don't know who's necessarily on that board, but to be a top 10 overall prospect in a year when Paul Skeens is also a part of that list it's no small feat, that's for sure. And you've said it before, but it's making Al Avila look less and less bad as the days go by.
That draft class as a whole has been underwhelming. So I like it's so interesting that he still is obviously earning his keep and he was of course drafted out of high school, so it's gonna take some time, but it's not turning out terribly. A lot of these end moves from Al Avila seem to be taking some victory laps at this point because there were a lot of things that definitely we kind of turned our head and questioned and we're like, what's the thinking here? And now a little bit midterm down the line, we're like, okay, this has turned out. Of course you had the Marcelo Meyer, which is the big one that we all wanted. That kid from the Diamondbacks that I always forget his name, and we're probably gonna see him unless he's hurt this weekend. Lawler, thank you. Jeez, I just gotta think of lawyers. That's all I gotta do. I just gotta think of lawyers, and that I could come up with his name. Lawler. Those were the two big names that we were like, okay, what is happening? But they haven't really turned so many heads, and haven't really done too much to earn their keep yet either. So it's like, okay, well, we got a really good arm, and you can never have too much pitching. And obviously what Ryan Garco has been able to do with a lot of these kids has been very, very good. It wasn't just all Al Avila, it's you got to pick the name, but then you actually got to develop them. And then it's also on the kid to stick to the plan and overcome adversity. I will say Jackson's had to overcome a lot of adversity at this point, mostly in by way of the injury bug, but I'd rather him get these things out of the way now and then be able to come up and be healthy. Do you still think he makes his debut this year?
Again, it'll be a September deal if he can get healthy,
okay.
If he can stay healthy for the season.
He says his goal is to pitch in the majors.
Well, and here's the thing, is I think this is a fair point, and maybe this is spinning it a little bit, but this potentially could be a good thing for him. It could be the getting out of the way the whole innings cap that they have for him this year and trying to build up his arm a little bit. True. This just could be built-in rest for him. Who knows?
Is this one of those situations? This is very rare situations at this point, but where he leapfrogs AAA?
No, please no.
Okay, yeah, no, okay, no. That was a thing for like half a second, where like a lot of AA pitchers were just kind of leapfrogging AAA. I don't know what happened to that, but it seemed like that just kind of happened, and organizations were willing to make that move. I don't know a lot of the science behind it or a lot of the thinking, but I do know that the idea or the thought process is that AAA is a lot of quadruple A players and a lot of old major leaguers that are not necessarily really trying too hard in to get wins. I think that thinking's kind of changed recently, where now it's like, no, these kids are kids, and they're actually, you know, they're really they're not just the quadruple A's. They're trying to earn their mark, and they're trying to make a way onto a baseball team. I don't think that it's like the spring breakout thing. It's like, no, let's actually highlight the prospects that we have and be excited about the young crop of players, instead of just thinking, oh yeah, these are throwaway or old time major leaguers kind of washed up. It's not really the thinking anymore. So yeah, no, I don't think he'll leapfrog AAA either, but if there was anyone to do it, it could be Jackson Jobe.
The only person I think of when I think of jumping levels in the minors is always we'll go back to Buck Farmer, going from West Michigan to the majors.
Wow. I'm dating myself a little bit here. Didn't Verlander jump a level too?
He may have jumped like from single A to triple A. He didn't jump to the majors.
Right.
I don't know that for sure.
But I something. Yeah. Okay. No, that's fair. I think there was a jump, but it probably wasn't to the majors. So that's fair. He was drafted in 2005 though, right?
2004.
Oh, okay. So it did take him 2 years to get there. Okay. All right. Well, 1.5 years, however you want to look at it.
Hold on. I
not
said
saying
that
Jackson.
really
Not
confidently.
saying Jackson Jobe. I mean, stick with it. You could be 100% right. I asked the question.
I'm looking at it. I'm not scared.
Not saying Jackson Jobe. Not saying Jackson Jobe is Justin Verlander. Just want to be clear. Not saying Jackson Jobe is Justin Verlander. My Lord, Justin Verlander too. We gotta just have a moment for him. What a dude. I'm so like how was it 05?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it didn't. You know, I believed you just as much as I believed me, which is to say, did I really know it? You know, like, is that really a known fact? I don't know. Just kind of threw something out there. That's quick though. That's a quick turnaround.
For sure.
You know, debuting in 2006 after being drafted in 2005. But no, I mean, like now that JV is, you know, over 40 years old, and, you know, no one really knows what to expect from him outing to outing. What he did to the Tigers, and specifically what he has done to the Tigers since he has left, is both heartbreaking and incredibly cool to see. I never want to see him win against us. However, I'm at the end of the day kind of okay with it. What I hate is, of course, for, you know, that whole thing to you know, us lose the series and us be completely, you know, in a very sad state of affairs. So it is what it is. On that note, with the Astros, I, of course, was at that Saturday game. Wanted to go over a couple things that I had done and seen and heard, and the sights and the sounds back in a more exciting moment of Tigers fandom. Real quick, Tarek Skubal, just a dude. This is the first time I've ever seen him in person. He lived up to every expectation I had for him, and they were lofty expectations. I think he is a stud. He is now again on the top of the Cy Young voting, not voting, but like the Cy Young predictions for the AL, rightfully so. He's on another level. I hope he stays here. There's going to be ups and downs. I get it, but he looks untouchable. And even when they get a couple blooper hits or whatever, and, you know, they even scored a couple runs, it doesn't feel like he's out of control. And that's it right there. That's the key of being someone who can stay in control and be the stopper, not only for, you know, a team that's, you know, struggling a little bit, but then also like in your own outings when you're starting to give up some soft contact, even some hard contact. How do I regroup? How do I keep this game at a level that is in control? Because we all know can turn at the flip of a hat, right? And the flip of a coin. So it's very, very, very good to see what he's doing and to see it in person. I'm not going to sit here and say it was me, but he threw his first 100 with me in the crowd, Josh. First official 100 with me in the crowd.
Was that a big talking point, like at the ballpark? Like where?
At the game, no. So, and I mean, it's good that you bring that up. The scoreboard, obviously, all new. $3 billion worth of LEDs power that thing. It's beautiful. It's awesome. They're doing some really cool things with the actual game kind of like just like the entertainment level and kind of like the theme level. They're doing some really cool things as far as transitions. They have really cool like new animations that like the tiger statue will like bat these stats. And like he'll do like a little growl and he'll bat some stats at you, just like random things about the current at bat or the current pitch. And instead of like doing the like that normal thing, it's the tiger roar in between pitches and stuff at different. And they still do that that's still a part of baseball. But instead of that, like interstitially, they'll do some cool things on the scoreboard. So they're really utilizing that well. But what I bring that up because it's now a dual screen. So half of it is like about current things that are happening, on the field. And then the lower half of the scoreboard is all about the current like matchup. So it's like all of Scooby's stats and all of the hitters' stats. And not only that, have you seen this? I'm sure you've seen it on Twitter. There's now horizontal
break
tracking and vert tracking. Exactly. And it's amazing. And there's actually not a very big place where you can see the miles per hour. So, I mean, it's there, but it's like not like where your eye catches. So I don't think anyone really saw it. I was looking at the scoreboard quite often to see his velo. I saw 99.9, but then there was a different pitch that I went to later, that Pitching Ninja, and it was a different pitch. It wasn't the same pitch. That actually was at 100. I did not see that one. I obviously saw it, like saw him throw it. I didn't see it flash on the scoreboard. But it was not a big topic of conversation at the game. But his velo as a whole, of course, was, because it's just cool to see a Tigers starter throw over 95 miles per hour. I mean, obviously he's the first Tiger starter to hit 100 since Verlander, right?
No, that
was the stat.
Gregory Soto threw 100 quite often, so I don't know where is it.
No, but starter.
That might be true.
Yeah, not just pitcher. Yeah. No, starter. I think that was the stat. So that was awesome. The kid's a stud. We all know it. I'm very excited for what this season brings for him. I went to a Saturday game, so it was actually pretty busy, which was really cool to see. It was a night Saturday game too, which I've never been to. It's usually, obviously, most weekend games are typically day games and matinee games. The energy and the vibe level was so high. Even coming off a terrible loss that we had, and I get it, you can't really do much about your ticket the day before or whatever. That was the best vibe I've ever had at a Tigers game. And I mean, mind you, I've seen Riley Green's first career home run. I was there for that, and the vibes weren't that high. This little brew that they have going on here, this nucleus, it is catching, and it is really doing things to Detroit as a whole, because there was an energy there that I have not felt like Comerica in a very, very long time. The other factor of that was, of course, it was City Connect Week. Mm-hmm. And Josh, I'm here to tell you, I'm a complete sellout. They had, you can't even, first off, obviously, we got the rally pack. So now I have the license plate cover on my car. I have decals. I can't put the decals on my car, of course. My dad told me not to because of the lease situation. So we're a little upset about that, but I wanted to do that. I have to say, it's a lot better in person.
Yeah.
It's a lot better in person. The shade of blue that they're going for definitely does not lend itself well to TV. It just doesn't. It seems kind of purple to me on TV. I don't know if you get that vibe. But it's definitely a better streak of blue in person. And here I'm gonna say it. You're not gonna like this. You're really not gonna like these next two things I have to say. The orange highlights would have not looked good. They wouldn't have looked good. I'm liking what they're going for here. I like the black and blue. I like the things. I also like that you really can't see the tire tracks in your situation when you're at the field, because it's like they're not really paying attention to that. But yeah, I don't think the orange would have been the right vibe. And then secondly, the hat. The hat's a lot better in person. And maybe I'm just a sellout. Maybe I'm just a complete sellout, but I'm here to say it's the raised lettering. It's the raised lettering. It's not the way that Detroit looks. It's not the typeface. It's not the font. We all know it's a little plain. It's just got a cool raised lettering kind of thing. And the blue is a little bit better in person, like I wanted it to be. The VIN number's cool, and I was like, all right, whatever, sold. So I bought a hat. I bought a sweatshirt. I'm all in on the Motor City. All right, you can say whatever you want, but I'm here for the Motor City vibes. So, and the other thing is too, everyone else seemed to be too. Like everyone else was in the D shop, was buying this stuff. There was so much money flowing in and out of that place. It was insane. I even said to the clerk when I was there, I was like, I'm buying this right now. Mike Ilitch better buy me Juan Soto. No, I didn't actually say that, but I wanted to. But it was overall good to see people kind of get behind something that's we have been reluctant, let's just be honest, to have anything kind of come in and defeat the Old English D or whatever, kind of take the place of the Old English D. We have not wanted to see it, and we probably didn't think the city was going to even react like this. They did something cool here. They really did, and I think they look good on the players. I think it's good they're not like an everyday thing, obviously. None of the City Connects are, but it points to something a little bit cooler, and they can be a little bit more, fan servicey with some of these things. And I think they are easily, and we'll probably do our rankings once all of them are out or whatever, but after seeing those Guardians ones that they debuted a couple days ago, dude, I mean, we're easily top 5. And it's not even really close. So I'm all kitted out with the City Connect stuff, and I'm big on that. Before I get into the surprisingly offensive showcase that I experienced, did you have any questions or any things before I monologue further?
No, I still think that they could have done more with the hat and the jersey in general. I think that they could have used a little more imagination, but all in all, again, like you said, compared to the other City Connect jerseys, I do think we have a pretty good one, all in all.
Yeah, you said it too. You said it best, and it's actually what sold me on buying the sweatshirt. It looks better as a whole, as a complete package. It looks better, and so I think because seeing those two things and seeing really what they bring to the table, I think the jersey makes the hat look better, and the hat makes the jersey look better. So I'm here for it. I'm glad that it turned out okay. Saw my first Grand Slam. Mm-hmm. No idea how that happened. That was easily one of the best Tigers moments I've ever been a part of. That new light show that they're doing, dude. I know it's kind of old news at this point. Have you ever been a part of one of these light shows?
Not myself personally, no.
It's a fun time. You feel like you're at a nightclub, and you're vibing with the rest of the people. Like it's a good time, and of course, I was sitting amongst Tiger fans. I was on the third base side, pretty close to the field, so it's gonna have good vibes all around. I wasn't on the first base side where every Astros fan wants to eat your head off, but it was good that everyone's around me. Also, just shout out to the people that were around me. I actually had some, it's hit or miss nowadays. We had some really cool people right around us. I hate to do the thing where like I tip my hand about like, oh, how big of a Tigers fan I am or whatever. I never want to be that guy, but there were a couple specific moments where I'm like, that was a cool exchange. I'm glad that we were able to share that moment together. So obviously, yeah, Canna stealing the show with the Grand Slam, and then Kerry Carpenter showing out with his 2 home runs. That was the best offensive performance that I've seen out of a team in a very long time. So in a very crazy upside down world, I actually picked the right game to go to. And it was anchored by 2 very depressing baseball games that I easily could have been a part of. So I'm glad for what it was worth that, spent money on a good game and went to the right showing, because I feel bad for pretty much every other fan that's attended any of the following baseball games that have happened. So, but glad that we somehow got lucky there, and had some Raising Cane's afterwards too. So, in East Lansing, dude, it was just a good day. Let me just tell you, it was a great day, fantastic day. So it all came up Millhouse. Take me back to those times when the Tigers were playing better baseball. But it'll happen. It'll come again. We'll see. We got a couple series yet to play this week and weekend. We have the D-backs going to Phoenix. It's going to be a little bit of a test because the D-backs are also not that good, but we just lost to one of the worst teams in baseball, so I have zero expectations. And then we play the real series against Kansas City, where no matter what happens these next 3 games against the Diamondbacks, the Kansas City series is without a doubt a huge test. And so I know we can talk about, it's only April, it's only May. We can only talk about that for so long. The Kansas City series is huge, and I'm here to say it. Maybe it's less so, but for you, but I think it's huge. How do you think we fare these next couple series?
Arizona is an interesting thing. Their pitching is pretty decimated right now. Erod notwithstanding, I believe Merrill Kelly is also on the 60-day IL for one reason or another. So that's something going in our favor. Clearly, it doesn't really matter who's pitching against us at this point. So, and also, while I'm here, while I'm thinking about it, can I just say, this does not project well on the Tigers, but that Miami Marlins team just exuded sloppy, lazy baseball the whole series. And I feel horrible.
They didn't even want to be there.
I feel horrible for their fans because that team looks like they don't want to be there. All 3 of their outfielders looked like they were shagging fly balls in BP during the game. Like, if they dropped it, they probably wouldn't have cared.
But yeah. Yep.
So that's just...
Not only did they not look like they didn't want to be there, they didn't look like they wanted to win. like when they were winning the game or had the chance, but they didn't care. Yeah. They're just like, whatever. All right, that's another thing. Like, all right. We almost had a Aaron Boone moment too with Skip Schumacher.
Well, we kind of did, but the umpires, I think, kind of averted the worst case scenario.
Well, shout out to the base coach or to the bench coach.
He just became the fall guy,
taking the fall for right. It's like, all right, yeah, dude, good for you. I bet you he probably got a steak dinner from Skip for that. So, such a weird baseball team. How do you sneak it in the playoffs last year and then just turn into this year? I tell you, it's truly Tim Anderson. I refuse to have any other explanation.
Well, maybe that explains why they won against us, right?
Exactly. That's a great point. That's better times ahead, my friend. Better times ahead. I think it's interesting you brought up the pitching against us. No Erod, of course. No Erod that we're gonna see. We are all kind of circled this series as the return of Erod to facing the Tigers. Not so much the case. He's of course hurt. So we shall see. We shall see. D-backs very inconsistent baseball team. It is the return of Eugenio Suarez, though. So we shall, we'll see about that. I think we have another sad weekend. I think we're in for another sad weekend. I will be mostly tuning into golf. Let's just put it that way. Kansas City, have any high hopes for that one, though?
I'm just glad we get Scooble in each series. I think that's our only saving grace at this point.
All the pitching, dude. That's the thing. Like, all the pitching's been great. Like, it's just, my goodness, can't swing a bat. I I'm holding out hope for that Kansas City series. I think that could be the series that brings us back, and it brings us back to a little bit more a level playing field.
I truly hope so.
We don't play kids. I know. I may just be, having too high hopes, maybe being overly optimistic, but I think we start to find our footing for that. But Royals are good. Royals are good this year. No way fans or buts about it. Central's good. Still one of the best divisions in baseball. It's just crazy. Just insane. The world that we live in. All right, Josh, let's get out of here. Where can the kids find us?
We're on all of those social media platforms. Old English D Pod. Give us a follow. Give us a like. I try to post every time we release the podcast episodes. So if you want an update there, I'll let you know when the podcast comes out. I typically post every single time. So if you want to get that update, give us a follow. Turn on those notifications. I sound like a YouTuber from the 2010s, but yeah.
Hit the bell.
Hit the bell. Hit the bell. Don't forget the bell. So, no, but we do appreciate everybody that listens, everybody that pays attention. Again, apologies for the weird schedule this week. Again, a lot of stuff in personal lives going on, and then obviously the fire just got taken out of us this week. So we'll try to do better. We need the Kilbadoo of our podcast to light the spark underneath us,
And at this rate, too, you could pretty much make an X post every time the Tigers score runs and still be able to keep your full-time job.
I mean, it's kind of what I'm doing right now anyway.
It wouldn't take too much effort. Right. Will we score a run in Phoenix? Who knows? Find out if we did next week. We should all find out together. Josh, thanks so much for joining me. Guys, as always, thank you so much for listening. And as always, go Tigers.